Hello and welcome to Archive West Texas, where we explore people and stories that shape West Texas. I'm Gordon Wilkerson, your host. We're pleased to welcome today's guest, Gerry Glasco, head coach of Texas Tech softball. Last season, Coach Glasco led the Red Raiders to their first ever NCAA Finals appearance, and this year's team enters the season ranked number 1 in the nation. Gerry, welcome to Archive West Texas.
Excited to be here and appreciate you having us.
Tell me where you grew up and a little bit about your family, your parents, and what your childhood was like.
I grew up in Southern Illinois. My dad was a farmer. My mom was a school teacher. And then our main income was a hog farm. We were hog farmers. So as a child, Dad and I would raise about 2,000 to 2,300 pigs a year, every year. So that was my life, was taking care of pigs, and a very humbling way to grow up, but a very fun way. And I definitely learned how to work hard.
Was there somebody early on that first sparked your interest in coaching or leadership?
Well, I went to a real small high school, just 100 kids. There's 24 kids in my senior class. So we were able to participate in every sport. We didn't have football. We had fall baseball, basketball, and spring baseball, and we'd run cross country in the fall, and we'd run track. And so I did all the sports. And of course, sports were a way for me to get off of the farm and get out of work. I always thought that sports practice was the easiest part of my day and the most fun part of my day. So I just love sports. And being from a small town, my dad always when you get done with high school, you're not going to play sports in college. You're going to go, I want you to focus on the academics. And then through my daughters and their pursuit of softball, that's what got me into coaching.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking at your resume, you majored in agricultural economics at Illinois. It's not exactly a straight line into elite softball coaching. But so what were some of your early jobs out of college?
I've graduated from college in ag economics, and really my major was animal nutrition all the way through. And just at the last second, I switched to an ag business degree because I thought that might help me more in the job field. So I went back home to the family farm and worked with my dad. I was never in love with farming. I did it, and I didn't really like it. It was just Dad and I on the farm. I was always a people person. I wanted to be around people. And my dad was just the opposite. My dad was extremely hard worker, extremely disciplined, and he loved to work. And I didn't have those same talents, and I didn't have those same interests. So it was kind of a disaster on the farm for me and Dad. I think I always disappointed him, and then I always looking for something to get away from that. And so I got into sales, feed sales with Vigortone, a mineral premix company, and had my first real success, I think, with them, and really reinforced the idea that I was good with people. And then from that, I would work 9 months a year. I'd work in the summer, spring, summer, and fall with my dad on the farm. And I started coming down to Jayton and Aspermont, Texas, and leasing ranches and taking people quail hunting. And I'd spend the winter, the coldest part of the winter in Illinois. I'd come down here and again, got to be with people, got to be around other people from other businesses, and fell in love with that.
How do you make the connection between Illinois and Jayton and Aspermont?
I met a man named Billy Johnson who owned Bill Johnson Real Estate and a plumbing company in Belleville, Texas. He had played baseball for Texas A&M, but he was in the bird dog business. And he was selling dogs to King Ranch and to all the people down in the hunting industry in South Texas. And we met, and he liked the fact that I was interested in athletics and sports. And so he basically taught me while I was going to college, I would buy bird dogs for him. And he taught me how to buy and how to sell, and taught me a lot about business. And so during my college years, I would buy dogs all summer, send to Texas. I would fly on a plane. Back in those days, you could get on an airplane for $89. I could go a round trip from St. Louis, Missouri to Houston, Texas, back to St. Louis the same day. Just get on the plane, go down, get off, drop off 5 bird dogs. I took 2 as luggage, and 3, I'd pay $25. So I would get off the plane. He would give me a check. I'd go back home. I thought I was rich. So it was a good little college gig in that time. Then from there, he introduced me to hunting in Aspermont. He hunted every winter in Aspermont, Texas. And then he introduced me to guiding some of the customers that he would bring his bankers and stuff up from the real estate business and clients in the real estate up into the Aspermont area. and take them hunting. So I got to be one of the dog handlers. So we're still lifelong friends. Billy's 84. He listens to every Texas Tech ball game. Every Texas Tech ball game, he's watching it and critiques me after the game. Every coaching move I made that was bad, it's on my message. I've got a message about it as soon as the game's over. So lifelong friendship through bird dogs and just a lot of other things.
What a great story.
Crazy, right? Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about how you got into softball. I know it's been a family affair for you with your daughters. Give us a little of that story.
Yeah. So the hunting led from me guiding out here in West Texas to Billy Johnson got me an opportunity to go down to Mexico and guide for an oil company out of Houston. And as that got to be a lot bigger, a lot more successful financially for our family. So I would go down November 1st and come back end of February. And in the meantime of all this, my wife and I have now got 3 daughters. Tara was the oldest. She was 12 years older than Gerry Ann, the baby. But somewhere in there, when Tara got to be about 6 or 7 years old, she really got interested in softball. And my dream was always my daughter to ride barrel racing horses. I loved horses, always kept quarter horses, and I wanted Tara to be a barrel racer. And so we fought this battle from 6 to about 12, where she rode horses and also played softball. And then about 12 years old, she let me know that she wanted to focus on softball. And so at that point, I loved sports, and I was always interested in sports. I played every sport, and I did a lot of slow pitch softball and so on. So it was easy to convince me to get interested in coaching and coaching her. You know, like if I come home for Christmas for 4 days, she'd want to play pitch and catch. When I got home from Mexico 1st of March, she'd want to go out in the yard and hit, and it was just getting warm. Spring was coming, so softball kind of became a natural way for me to regroup and reunite with my family and my daughters. So like everything, when we do it, we want to do it really good. So we, through her softball playing, Tara's, well, you know, I think I learned quite a bit, and I tried to coach her well. Coached her 10 and under team in a pony World Series, and I coached her 12 and under team. We had no success at the 10 and under, but I took them back as a 12-year-old team to the Pony World Series, and we won that. And that was like my first big coaching moment. And then my middle daughter, Erin, was 5 years younger than Tara. So by the time Tara's 12, Erin's 7, she's starting to play. Tara went on and played college ball at Southern Illinois University, and then Erin played ball at Notre Dame and Texas A&M. So I got to spend a lot of time coaching those 2 girls. And then Gerry Ann came way later, and Gerry Ann was born in 1998, our baby. I got to coach her through grade school. And after her 8th grade year, I was coaching her junior high. By this time, I'm coaching the junior high team there in the little town, Johnson City, Illinois. I was the assistant coach at the high school for about 7 years. Never was the head coach. I just always, when I got home from Mexico, I just helped with all the hitters and do whatever I could do to help the program get the field ready every day at 1 o'clock. And Gerry Ann came along, and when she was 9, 10, I just did not think she was going to be a good athlete. And I tried to get her into everything but softball. Her 2 older sisters were both really good athletes and played college ball. And I didn't want her to be that third child that couldn't keep up. And that's what I saw, but she just loved it. And so really had to learn how to coach and work. And we worked really hard. And she ended up making the best pitcher and the best hitter of all of them, I guess. Was National Player of the Year as a senior in high school. And amazing hitter, amazing pitcher, threw 70 miles an hour by the time she was a senior in high school, and then set the Georgia state record for home runs, and just an amazing player. And then we lost Gerry Ann in a car wreck at 24 years old. So that was kind of complicated. I'll talk about it all even, but those 3 daughters and those 3 girls really taught me how to coach. And it was just a love that our family had. So all summer, we'd go to softball tournaments. Wherever the girls wanted to go, we went. And my wife has watched 1 million softball games. That lady knows more about softball than I do. So it's a family thing, and that's kind of how I got into coaching.
Talk a little bit about how you make your way to Texas Tech.
The whole thing is kind of an accident. You know, when I do seminars or I work with young coaches, your most successful careers are because you have a plan and you want to follow that plan. I never had any plan. And I think my career is successful because everywhere I ever was, I was exactly where I wanted to be. When I was coaching junior high ball, I wasn't thinking, well, I want to be a coach at University of Georgia. I got the job at University of Georgia because when I was coaching junior high ball and was the assistant coach at the high school, I decided, I can help these girls get scholarships by forming a travel team in the summer, and we'll take them to places and events where college coaches are going to be. And so I picked out like a couple girls from our high school every year, but then all over the area in Southern Illinois, I would try to find the best athletes and put them on a team. And in our fourth season, we were able to win a national championship. I think it was the third season, I took them up to Canada, 10 girls. My wife didn't go. I only had one or two mothers there. Even my assistant coach, I said, we won't be playing on the weekend. Just get your ticket home on Saturday morning. And it was an international tournament where Japan was there, Canadian junior national team was there. I just wanted my kids to go up and watch the women play. The USA women, Australia, Japan, all the women were playing. And so I took these 10 little girls from Southern Illinois. Most of them were 15 or 16 years old. I had one 18-year-old player, and it was a 19 and under tournament. And we go up there and we win this thing. A junior national team from Canada, we beat 2-1 Saturday night, and then we had to play them again on Sunday in front of 3,000 people. And we beat them 1-0, a walk-off home run, seventh inning. My other coach had left on Saturday morning, so I'm coaching these two games by myself. Canada's got 22 players on the national team, 6 coaches. The pictures are hilarious when you look at. We had 10 bouquets, and they had like 25 bouquets to give out because they were planning on giving them to Canada. But anyway, that was like my big coaching success. And the lady at Georgia, she started saying, like, Gerry, why don't you come to Georgia and be an assistant coach and recruiting coordinator? Lou Harris-Champer was the head coach. We just put her in the Hall of Fame. But Lou had graduated from Western Illinois University. She's from San Diego, California. And all the schools in Illinois recruited California kids because there was no ball players in Illinois. So she was fascinated how I was getting these kids out of Illinois that could win a national championship. And she started telling me, like, hey, I want you to come to Georgia and be an assistant coach. You can be the recruiting coordinator. You can work with hitters. This went on for 4 or 5 years. I'm like, I like softball, but I love hunting. I'm never going to do that. And I never intended to do it. But then the drug war started in Mexico. And they started kidnapping wealthy Americans, which is exactly who I was taking to Mexico. And I had a 40-foot billboard with my home phone number on it, which set me up to be kidnapped. And it became obvious we needed to shut that business down. And what am I going to do? I ought to take the job at Georgia. And I took the job at Georgia. She hired me. Georgia had never been to the World Series. They had a brand new stadium built in 2004, and I went in 2008 and 2009. And Lou was wanting to get that team to the World Series while she had the stadium new. And our first year, we got to the Final Four. Our second year, we got to the Final Four. Just it kind of exploded my coaching career to where, because of Lou, she set me up to where I could go on. And eventually, I moved to Texas A&M. From Texas A&M, I moved to Auburn. I was only at Auburn a couple of months when Louisiana offered me the head coaching job. And by this time, I'm 59. And I've only been coaching in college for 10 years, but in coaching years, I'm an old coach. And I really never thought I'd get to be a head coach, but I got the job at Louisiana. And then we had great success there. My team won. We won 5 straight conference championships, and I got the chance to come here to Texas Tech.
Tell us what the program was like when you got to Lubbock.
I took the job, I think it was like June 24th. So when you interview, they tell you a little bit about the program, but you don't go into a lot of details, and rightfully so, because if you don't take the job or if you end up not coming here, you don't need to know some of the stuff. But when we got here and we realized we only had a few players coming back, and then the program had a pretty good year and appeared to be kind of on the upswing, but I could see why Coach Snyder decided to leave, because it didn't look very good for the following year. So that was really good for me. It scared me a little bit, and fear's a tremendous motivator. And so when I got here and I realized where I was at and what I had left, we had a top 10 team coming back to Louisiana. I had no doubt. The Louisiana fans, I felt sorry for them because they couldn't understand. Why would you leave this program that's been in the NCAA tournament 24 years in a row? But the appeal to me was West Texas, the quail hunting. And I wanted, this is a great place for me to retire. So when I got here, I'm like, oof, this could be a tough situation. But it was too late. I'd already taken a job. Let's roll our arm sleeves up and let's go to work. And so we just started recruiting like crazy and trying to put together the best team we could possibly build. The concern was the roster. But then I got to know the Matador Club, and I got to tap into all the resources that Texas Tech had behind the scenes to help us build the program. And I'd never worked with that type of situation. We had so much going for us with the Matador Club, with the boosters, Tracy Sellers, who had played here, in the early 2000s. She was behind the program financially and wanting us to win. And then we had other people too. Mark McDougall with McDougall Real Estate. He was part of the Matador Club, and he helped meet with recruits and helped us in ways that I'd never had experienced as a coach before. Long story short, we put together what I thought was a really, really good roster. I thought we had a top 25 team with the people that we had coming in. Alana Johnson from Washington, Vic Valdez, Maya Davis, Chloe Riasetto, and Lauren Allred from Louisiana had decided to follow me over here. And then we added Alexa Langler somewhere in there late July. And then we got Naja Kennedy to come on a visit. And luckily she fell in love with the university and saw the potential. I was telling to her, we've got a team that with you pitching in the circle for us, we can go to the World Series. And I believed it. I had to believe it in order to recruit her. And then we had the Matador Club offering her NIL situation that had never been done in women's sports. When you look at that, like, man, I didn't walk into a tough situation. I walked into a dynamic, tremendous opportunity situation. And from that point on, I felt like we should go to the World Series if we work hard, if we practice really hard every day, if we do a great job of coaching our athletes, if our athletes do a great job of buying in, if our athletes become teammates, there's a whole bunch of things that you have to do to win.
I'm going to say I might be like a lot of our listeners. I would say, at least for me last year as a sports fan, maybe the most exciting 10 seconds in all of sports was your decision to do the double steal in the semifinal game against UCLA. Talk us through that call, because that was an exciting play, Coach.
It was a lucky play that worked, really, but it was a play out of desperation. I started the inning with Lauren Allred on first base, who's one of my smartest base runners. And Naja hit a double down the right field line, and Lauren just didn't get a really good read on it. Thought the right fielder might catch it. Lauren held and got turned around, and when she took off, she kind of got twisted up. And anyway, she only made it to third base when normally she would have scored on that play. And it was 1 out, I believe. And so I felt like we lost the opportunity to score right there, and we're in a 0-0 game, UCLA, blue blood of our sport. So it's a huge moment. I'm wanting to get momentum, and it's the fourth inning. So we go ground ball go, which means any ground ball, we're going to take off from third, and we're going to go home. And we hit a ground ball to shortstop, and they threw Lauren out at home. Naja had gotten a double, so we'd put Michaela Garcia in to run for her. Michaela, a local kid from Friendship High School, and a really fast, athletic kid. So she ends up at third base with 2 out. And so now I'm first and third instead of second and third. And UCLA called time. I told the kids, we had Vic Valdez at the plate, if we get to a 2-strike count, we're going to try to steal a run. So the timeout ends, and we go back, and I'm walking back to third, and I'm thinking, we did this at Florida State in the Super Regional. There's no doubt they looked at the film. And it dawned on me, UCLA would tell their catcher not to throw to the second base bag. They would only throw it to the pitcher. And so the first pitch was a strike, and I told Michaela, I said, if the next pitch is a strike, I want you to steal home. I want you to steal just like you're stealing second base. Don't wait, just go. And we're literally, like, I've got my hand over my mouth, and I'm talking because I'm not wanting everybody to realize, and I'm having to explain to her how I want this to go. We'd never practiced it ever. And I said, just leave one step behind the runner at first, because I thought the catcher would just look at the runner first and flip the ball back to pitcher. And I thought that if she took off and stole and the catcher didn't realize she was still at home when she threw it back to pitcher, we'd be in before the ball got back to home. Luckily, that's how it worked out. The odds that it will work, I wouldn't want to do it again, because I knew there was probably a 70% chance it was going to fail. And Michaela, I even told her, I said, just trust me and go. I'll take the blame at the press conference. And I think I verbalized that, or else I thought it in my head. But I knew, even in that moment, I'm thinking, this is going to be bad at the press conference if it doesn't work. But if it didn't, we're 0-2. We're at 8-9 order. We need to be aggressive in that moment. And it's hard for a coach to be aggressive. But we did it, and it worked. And so now it's like the most watched play in College World Series history. It's one of those things in your career, I think, that it was lucky that it worked. On the other hand, Michaela executed a play to absolute perfection. If you watch the film, the catcher is left-handed, so she's actually got the ball. And like Michaela's right in her vision, 20 feet away, and Michaela just keeps running as hard as she can towards the ball. That's not easy for an athlete to do. I've watched that film all summer and just marveled that she did that fearlessly, and so proud of her for executing that play. Because at third base, when it was happening, I'm like, she's going to flinch. I knew if she hesitated, it would draw attention to her. The play unfolded. For me, it was like slow motion. It was like 2.8 seconds, but for me, it's like 12 seconds in watching it. And then she slid through the legs, and the rest is history. The fans loved it. Fans all over the country loved it. Everywhere I've gone, I've had to talk about that play. Everywhere I went this summer recruiting, the teams were still home. They'd all put it in their playbook, and so they're all trying to steal home and doing that play. So it was fun. It kind of, I guess, become kind of like the trademark of our season.
Well, it was a bold call, flawlessly executed by some really great players. Gerry, you said entering the season ranked number one. I think you were quoting Nick Saban. It was a little bit like rat poison. You can't read the headlines too much. Talk us through why rankings concern you maybe more than they excite you.
Yeah, as a coach, I appreciate the compliment. You appreciate the respect that they've chosen our program as a preseason number one. But the other part is that I got to make sure my team knows and my staff knows, and they do, is we approach the season just like we're ranked 28th or 19th or 48th. Right. We got to, every single day in practice, we want to work our tails off. We want to be sure nobody in America is outworking us. We want to be sure that we're using our practice time extremely wisely, not in a way that's wasteful. And I think that's the same every single year. Never changes. The only thing I think the number one, I want to make sure we realize the opportunity we have. Like, this is a unique, special opportunity because I've never went into a season where I had this much talent in my locker room. And I do want to be careful. I want to avoid injuries, but I don't want to overwork us. I don't want to be foolish and work these kids too hard and end up with unnecessary injuries. I want to keep them healthy. The other part, I want to be sure we remember we want them to have fun. Like, we want this to be a really good experience. And so the ranking is a great thing from the outside, but in our inside, in our locker room, as a coach and player, we can't worry about that. We want to worry about just getting better every day and be sure we're ready to start the season and be sure we're ready to have a really successful season on the field.
You talked about how rare this opportunity is and how much talent you have. What makes this group special?
The amount of depth that we have. Last year, we went in, we knew we had Chloe Riasetto behind Nyjah. We knew Nyjah gets hurt. We can beat most teams with Chloe, maybe even any team in the country. We have the opportunity to beat them. We beat Oklahoma with Chloe in the circle at Louisiana year 4 when they'd won 71 games in a row. But then we're thin, like we don't have necessarily a backup shortstop. We don't have a backup third baseman. We don't have, if we lose 2 infielders at any 2 positions, we don't have that depth to plug in 2 starters on the infield. This year's team, we've got depth at, every single position. We've got Vic Valdez caught almost every single game last year. And this year we've got multiple catchers. We've got Taylor Tony, the tremendous sophomore, at shortstop. But then if she would happen to go down with injury, we've got Jackie Liss, who's a 3-time all-conference, all-region performer at Southern Illinois University, a veteran player that can go right into shortstop position and carry us through an injury. So the depth of the team is unique, and really blessed to have a lot of talent in our locker room.
Talk a little bit about your schedule. You've got A&M, Florida State, Nebraska, full Big 12 slate.
Yeah, the schedule, I always want a schedule like as tough as I could schedule. I want a brutal schedule. And I've always done that. I did that at Louisiana. And this year we ran into a deal where the SEC is kind of like backing off playing us. I found out like Lubbock's hard to get to. It's easy for people not to come to Lubbock because it takes multiple plane trips to get here. You can't just fly like to Atlanta, Georgia and drive 30 minutes over to the field. Or here you've got to go to Dallas and then fly from Dallas to Lubbock, or go to Phoenix and fly from Phoenix. So first off, it's really hard for teams to get here. And then normally, like, I've never had trouble filling the schedule. But this year, like, there's not a lot of incentive to play Texas Tech right now. We're going to be hard. We're a hard opponent. But we got Florida State is a really good opponent. We've got them both at Florida State, and then we've got them at the Clearwater ESPN tournament. And I believe we play them first game when we get there. So that's a really high-level opponent. And we've got A&M, who will be a top 10 team on opening weekend at Texas A&M. So we got to be ready. And we're going to make that even a little bit harder for our kids. We're going to go to McNeese, play on Thursday night at McNeese, and play a doubleheader on Friday morning. And then Friday afternoon, we'll be driving 4 or 5 hours. I think it's actually about 5.5 hours from McNeese, Lake Charles, over to College Station, get in there late Friday night. And then we'll get up Saturday. We'll play a game at 4 o'clock and then play Texas A&M at Texas A&M Field at 7 p.m. So the kids have been on the field for 5 hours and been through a grueling weekend when that game starts. So that's going to be a really good test for us and see how we handle that. And we go to Florida, Clearwater tournament. We got Florida State and Nebraska. Nebraska with Jordy Fromm or Jordy Ball used to be kind of an arch rival there with Nigel. They're both seniors, two of the greatest players in the last 25 years. Those are two of the top 5 players, I guess, in the history of our sport. So that'll be a great matchup on ESPN on 6 o'clock. Our fans will be able to watch it on national TV. And then we go to Palm Springs the next week. Doesn't get any easier. We go out to Palm Springs and we play Japan, the Japan national team. It won't count on a record. It'll be a test against the number 1 team in the world. And really, I'm excited about it. Our kids are super excited about it. Get an opportunity to play against Japan. And then we play 5 other games against colleges in a 4-day period. And then we come home, we finally get to be at home. So we don't get home to Lubbock till the 4th week of the year. You know, I think it's like our 22nd game we played at that time. So it's a testing schedule, and then we start the Big 12. And the Big 12 is going to be really good again this year. Oklahoma State's loaded. Arizona State, I think, has the top pitcher in college softball, Mackenzie Brown. BYU, Utah. We got Central Florida. I'm looking forward to that. They're going to be a top 25 team. Great coach, Cindy Ball. They've got a really talented sophomore pitcher and a junior pitcher. So they've got a good pitching staff. And then we play Iowa State here at home this year. We didn't play them, so I'm looking forward to getting to play Iowa State at home.
There you go. How can our listeners support the team?
Show up. We need the fan base to really enjoy the opportunity to be a fan base on a team like this. It's a unique opportunity for the fan base, but then it's critical for our team. We have to have fans, and we want to be a program that kids want to come here and play because of the fans. And what the fans did at Oklahoma City, the red shirts in the stands, it made an impression on our athletes forever. The Texas Tech Red Raider fans were incredible at the World Series. You didn't feel like you were an underdog on the field when you played Oklahoma, which says so much about our fans. Because Oklahoma, they go to the World Series every year. They got this huge following, and they had never been matched with that. I mean, Texas was there, and they didn't have hardly any fans compared to our fans. And so we saw last year during the regional here, incredible experience. The tent, the tailgating, the fans were loud. So we've seen what it's like to have an incredible fan base, and we want to continue to build on that. And the number one thing a fan can do is just simply show up at a game and enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy being part of something really, really special. And that's what they can do, and that's what we need.
Season opens early February 5th. Is that right?
Yeah, we play our first games on February 5th. The first 3 weekends we're on the road, and then we get back home the 4th weekend. And I cannot wait to play on the field. They've added new lights. The lighting is incredible. At our field, they're putting a shade structure up, so fans will be under shade for the first time. They're putting netting down the line, so it's a lot safer for the fans. Foul balls won't be able to get up in the stands. It's really an improved stadium, and the amenities they're working hard to get the concessions and bathrooms and all that. I think we got a lot of stuff going to happen over the next season or two. The stadium this year, they'll be shocked at the renovations that they did and the improvements they've made for our fans.
Exciting times for Texas Tech softball. Coach, thank you for taking time today to talk us through a little bit of your story and to let our audience know what's coming in this season. It sounds like a great team. Know we have a great leader. Appreciate everything you and your team do for the broader community here.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for listening today and encourage you to please join us again next week for another episode of Archive West Texas.